What's going on, NBA fanatics? This is your friendly neighborhood Memphis Grizzly homer, Memphis X, and I talk hoops. Today, I am talking about Ja Morant trades to the Eastern Conference, and you know why. But first, every hero needs their theme music.
KeyAno.
Grizz gang, go hard. Baddest in the game, we be on one. I talk hoops so secure. All up on the court, but we gon' score. Memphis bringing heat straight from Tennessee. Morant spiking, let's go for he that MVP.
Of course, I had started my off-season primer, and I was going to go. I did my video on the 5 things the Grizzlies need this off-season, and I was going to do my small forward videos yesterday, but of course, it was derailed by that Ja Morant video. So, needless to say, if you've really been paying attention to this channel, I've been telling you guys about my feelings about what should happen with Ja Morant really since the lasers in Indiana incident, the lasers at the FedEx Forum incidents. That's when I had enough, because it was on the heels of so much stuff that he was just doing something so stupid, or around people doing something so stupid. And then, since then, we've had incident after incident, report after report. You know, no signs of it slowing down. And I'm going to tell you like this. As much as I love watching Ja Morant play basketball, and y'all know I do because I've traveled all across the country to watch him play. But I think we have reached a point where enough is enough. Now, I will probably go into more about Ja Morant after I do these videos about the trades, because these trades are really tongue-in-cheek. I mean, I would trade him. Personally, you have that. But I don't expect the Grizzlies to trade him. But I will be going over the trades with every team in the league. And this is before the draft lottery. This is the Eastern Conference. I'm going to get the Western Conference up tomorrow morning before the draft lottery. And then, you know, once the draft lottery hits, the draft order is established, and I think trade talks will, you know, heat up a little bit, not specifically with Ja Morant, but just around the league in general. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going straight down the standings in the East and the West, and we're going to start with the Milwaukee Bucks. And as you can see, this trade I have Ja Morant and John Conchar, which is going to be a theme in these trades, going to Milwaukee for Drew Holiday, Marjon Beauchamp, and a 2029 first-round pick. Now, I'm going to be honest. I did not look up to see if these teams could actually trade all these later picks with protections they have on the other picks that are due. I'm not going to do all that because I don't expect a trade. But this is the framework of a trade I would consider. This wouldn't be a top-tier trade. This would be like the bottom-tier trade because of the age of Drew Holiday and the fact that he said he's going to retire after his contract. But you got a 29 first-round pick. Now, would you really want to be investing in a team that's going to have Ja Morant and Giannis Antetokounmpo? You know, that's questionable right there. So, of course, this isn't top tier. So we'll move on. Next up, we have the Boston Celtics, who kicked Philadelphia's ass yesterday. And this trade is quite simple. Jaylen Brown and a 26th first-round pick for Ja Morant. Now, the reason why I threw in the first-round pick, I don't expect Boston to be bad anytime soon. But due to the age contract of Ja Morant, because he is somebody who should be on a supermax deal, and he is going to be on a regular max deal. And Jaylen Brown is going to be going to a bigger max deal. He won't be able to get the supermax if he gets traded to Memphis, but he will be getting a max deal on his next deal. So, of course, all these stipulations are that he would agree to resign with the Grizzlies. Next, the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, this trade is kind of sticky because I didn't know which picks the Philadelphia 76ers could trade. And I didn't want to get goofy with it and just put Joel Embiid in the trade because, that's just too much. But here we got Ja Morant and John Conchar for Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey. Now, of course, Tyrese Maxey isn't really a point guard, but he's a hell of a talent. And, would it be an ideal trade? No. It'd probably rank just slightly above the Bucks trade, but not a good trade for Memphis. Great trade for Philadelphia, though. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Here we got a simple challenge trade. Ja Morant for Darius Garland. Now, of course, Darius Garland is from Tennessee, and we can all agree that Ja Morant is the more talented player in this equation. So the Cavs are getting a talent discount based on, the off-court issues, and the Grizzlies are getting somebody who's a lot more, easier to deal with. Now, this would probably be one of my top trades that I would want to do because it simply just replaces Ja Morant and, with a not as equivalent player, but a player that is pretty damn good. Next, the New York Knicks. And here we have Ja Morant for Jalen Brunson, Isaiah Hartenstein, a 2025 first-round pick from Milwaukee, and that 2023 pick from Dallas. Now, this pick is kind of iffy because I don't think the Knicks are going to get that pick this season. And the Dallas Mavericks do have Luka Doncic. So, this pick could be trash next season or it could be pretty good. And it would give the Grizzlies three picks to work with next season and an extra pick in 2025 and gives them some extra ammo in case they would like to go after somebody like Mikal Bridges. So this is a pretty good trade, I think, for both parties because even though Jalen Brunson had a great playoffs, and I'm pretty sure no Knicks fan wants to deal him, you have to admit this would be a good deal for the Knicks, bringing a superstar like Ja Morant to Madison Square Garden. And going into Brooklyn, we see this trade: Ja Morant, John Conchar, and the 25th pick in the 23 draft for Mikal Bridges, Nick Claxton, Cam Thomas, and the Nets 23 pick. Now, of course, the Grizzlies fans have been pining on getting Mikal Bridges, with a pick package, but this gets them Mikal Bridges and a young center to go, with Jaren Jackson, a nice defensive center, and a good six-man long-term in Cam Thomas. Of course, this would be a good return for the Nets because they would still have all those Phoenix picks they got from the Durant deal. They would still have Cam Johnson that they got from the Durant deal, and they would be basically giving out, an extra first-round pick, but picking up a younger star in Ja Morant to build around and replacing their pick with a later pick. So, of course, I like this pick. I like this trade. Next, we have the Hawks. And here we have a simple trade, John Morant and John Conchar for Trae Young and A.J. Griffin. Now, I like A.J. Griffin as a small forward option long-term for the Grizzlies. He's a good shooter. Trae Young, of course, is an all-NBA level talent. But, of course, John Morant is a little bit better and cheaper than Trae Young. Hence, the A.J. Griffin, John Conchar switcheroo, and gives Grizzlies some more long-term salary protection, to offset Trae Young's bigger contract. Of course, y'all know I'm a big Trae Young fan. It would be so weird cheering for that guy because I have become disgusted with his shot selection, but I think we can get that under control in a different environment in Memphis. Then we have the Miami Heat, where we have Ja Morant, Steven Adams, and Brandon Clark for Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo. Now, this seems like a lot to give up from Miami's standpoint, but, Bam and Tyler, pretty young players, and the Grizzlies probably don't really need Tyler Hero. But from a talent standpoint, especially with Brandon Clark going to miss most of this season, Steven Adams can walk in and replace Bam Adebayo to an extent. And Ja Morant is going to replace the offense that they get from Bam and Tyler Hero and gives Miami a young superstar on South Beach, which I know Pat Riley would love if they can wake him up. Next up, we have the Toronto Raptors, a team that the Grizzlies fans want to deal with anyway this summer, but not in this fashion. So this trade probably wouldn't be one of my top tier. It'd be one of the bottom tier trades. You have John Morant for Otto Porter Jr., OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, and 3 unprotected first-round picks. And it basically puts the Raptors on the clock to see if they can do something with Ja, move Fred VanVleet back to his natural position off the ball a little bit more. And, they still have Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, and Jakob Poeltl. So that's a pretty damn good team for them. And the Grizzlies just have to hope one of those later picks, hits the mark. The Chicago Bulls. Here we have Ja Morant, Steven Adams, and John Conchar for Zach LaVine, Alex Caruso, Patrick Williams, and 2 first-round picks in 29 and 27. Here, the Grizzlies kind of replaced the talent level of Ja Morant with Zach LaVine. They get a defender to bring off the bench to replace Tyus Jones if they deal Tyus Jones. They get a young forward in Patrick Williams, to fit that big forward that they've been looking for. And they get 2 more picks to be able to throw in a trade in order to bring in an established wing defender. So this would be a good trade. I think it'd be a good trade for both teams because Chicago hasn't really had a superstar, and Ja Morant is no question a superstar in a while, and this would at least give them that. And he's very young enough to build around, and they still have DeRozan, and they still want to win. So this will let them do that. The Orlando Magic. Here we got Ja Morant and the first-round pick in 23 for Jonathan Isaac, Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, and I think it's the number 11 pick that the Orlando Magic have from the Chicago Bulls. I think that's what it is. Let me check and see. Yes, the number 11 pick. And to me, you guys know Franz is one of my favorite players in the league. I always thought he'd be a good fit with Jaren Jackson. And then you get Jalen Suggs to play next to Desmond Bane. And you have a first-round pick to, maybe draft a small forward that can fit the team or add to the trade pile in a trade for a small forward. And you can take a flyer on the oft-injured Jonathan Isaac. The Indiana Pacers, here we have Ja Morant for Buddy Hield, Andrew Nembhard, and Benedict Mathurin. And 3 first-round picks because none of these really are high-level prospects or players. It basically gives the Grizzlies some more ammunition to go after, a wing player or maybe a star player later on. Who knows? Not one of my favorites, even though I do like Benedict Mathurin and Andrew Nembhard. Charlotte Hornets. This is probably the best trade or my favorite trade, the number one trade I would do. Ja Morant, John Conchar for Gordon Hayward and LaMelo Ball. And LaMelo Ball to me fits the aesthetic of the point guard that I want running my team. 6'8", can shoot, has very good passer. Defense is not up to par, but he's 6'8", so that can work later on. And he's got a pull-up game, and he's a good shooter. So, man, I would do this in a heartbeat for Ja Morant. Next, we have the Washington Wizards. And really, this is one of the teams, along with the Pacers, because I didn't want to just do for, Tyrese. So this is one of the teams I really didn't find anything I like. I know the Grizzlies like Denny Avdia. So maybe if the Wizards got a top 4 pick that wasn't 1 or 2 or wasn't 1, this might be something that can work. And, Kristaps Porzingis would be an okay fit, next to Jaren for as long as he lasts. I wouldn't want to pay him long term, but, it is what it is. If you just want to cut bait with Ja Morant, this is something you consider, especially if you're getting a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th pick in the NBA draft. And the last and final trade, the Detroit Pistons. And this is bringing it back to the future. Or we're going full circle. Here we got Ja Morant for Alec Burks, Bojan Bogdanovic, Jaden Ivey, and the Pistons 2023 first. I really wanted to put in Jalen Duren so bad in this trade. And I probably would take Jalen Duren over Alec Burks. But, this is one of those trades where you can't be greedy, but I would probably take Jalen Duren over their first-round pick this year. And if we were able to do that, that would be what I would call a perfect trade for me. Even though, Jaden Ivey might not be a point guard, so to speak, him and Desmond Bane would be a very, very nice backcourt. Bojan Bogdanovic would be a nice big wing to have in the short term. And if either you get the 23 first-round pick and you draft somebody to eventually replace Bogdanovic, or you get Jalen Duren and you have a monster front line with Jalen Duren and Jaren Jackson Jr. So that's it. Those are my Eastern Conference trades. I know some of them weren't the best. I know some of them weren't the most exciting. But let me know, which did you think was your favorite trade that I proposed? And which one did you hate the most of the trades I proposed? Let me know in the comment section, and I will reply to your comments. Peace.